to Kind Hearts, Strong Souls podcast, where reality and courage take the mic and hope leads the way.
The conversation of three friends united by work and held together by mutual care and support. Join Jodi as she moves through the challenges of a cancer diagnosis. The conversation is frank and honest, while also being caring and supportive. The voices explore the real pain and fear of cancer, the strength of faith and friendship and hope and optimism that shines even in life's darkest hours. Whether you're a survivor, a supporter, or simply someone in need of inspiration, this conversation will remind you that even when the road is very hard, hope is harder to break. Hello, and welcome to our fourth episode. Today, we're talking about the subject of friendships, and it's very appropriate because I don't think there would be this podcast without the friendship that the three of us enjoy. And friendships are pretty fundamental to who we are. They're one of the nicest things that God has created for us. He's made us kind of community animals. We're born into families, and so we have people around us. We live in communities. We often find ourselves in communities that we might call clubs or churches or something like that. And I think each of the three of us are people that enjoy being around other people. And so our friendships are something that really sometimes carry us through things that are quite difficult. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that today. Jodi's going to talk about some of hers. Brenda and I will throw those rapid fire questions that we do episode after episode, and we'll see where it takes us. So thanks for joining us today. And hi, Jodi. How are you doing?
Hey, Ken, thank you so much. I'm doing good. Thank you. Um, yeah, I just had my surgery, so I'm 2 weeks out and still on the road to recovery, but everything's going great. The trajectory I'm on is going the right way, which is always good.
That's great.
And so it's a good time for me to talk about my friendships because, I had a couple of friends, you know, help me out this time around. And it's always nice to have some friends that you can count on and rely on when you need them. I built my friendships over the years and found that when I was building them, I was intentional in building these friendships. I made a conscious effort to build and maintain these friendships. I showed up for my friends when they needed to support. As I just said, they show up for me. I'm a reliable presence in their lives, and I also respect their boundaries. I'm a good listener. I have really broad shoulders, and I understand and empathize with my friends' feelings without trying to fix them. I listen and I don't judge. I also share my own challenges and concerns to foster trust. And I try to avoid gossip. I always speak highly of my friends to others. People will tell you that I have a magnetic personality. That once you meet me, you'll never forget me. Um, and I kind of tend to agree with that. I don't know why, but I do have this presence about me that is magnetic. I draw people in for some reason.
You're kind of a high energy person. I think
I
that's one
am a high
reason.
energy person. Yeah,
Mm.
don't forget I'm that little hummingbird that just kind of
Yeah, I saw that when we
goes.
were talking before, and I'm not sure I agree with that. I don't know
Yeah,
that a
yeah,
hummingbird could really contain all that, Jodi, but go ahead anyway.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, you'd be surprised, Ken.
mm,
um, I think it's important to remind myself of the beautiful people in my life and the difference they make. I'm a Scorpio, and by nature, I'm loyal, devoted, and I'm a fierce protector of the people I care about. I keep my friendships and my relationships very close to my heart. I remember in the early days of my diagnosis, I received so many letters. I remember I counted them at one point. I can't even remember. It was over 100, which is a lot. I received a lot of letters, texts, messages, flowers, habit macaroni and cheese, things to keep my mind and my hands busy. You name it. Like my friends showed up. They showed me how much they cared about me. And that meant a lot to me, that so many people were following my journey and cheering me on at every turn and helping me get through some of those bad days. Because if you read my book, you'll see I had some pretty bad days.
Mm.
It reminded me that my presence in this world and in the lives of my friends mattered. It was important for me to be able to draw upon that love on the days when I was at my worst. Stephen even made a comment that he didn't really realize how loved and cared I was by so many people. So I surround myself with people who love and care for me and who I love more deeply than I ever realized. Sometimes I don't feel deserving of this kind of love, and I'm not quite sure what I've done to earn it, but I did something right. And I know Ken's going to ask me a question about that.
Is that my cue to ask you a question now?
Just for some reason, Ken, when I was just rereading that sentence, I was thinking Ken's going to have a question.
No,
I just know
I
he is.
don't have one on the tip of my tongue. I apologize.
Wow. Okay, great.
So
Well, then we'll move right along.
I think you're, just speaking for myself, in our friendship, I think you're like a very easy person to be friendly with, toward, um, whatever that right, um, whatever that right word is. As I said before, you're an energetic person. You're remarkably upbeat for the situation that you find yourself in, which I find like kind of amazing in some ways, right?
I hear
Um,
that. I hear that a lot.
and of course, the three of us worked together on a project together, so that drew us together. Brenda
Mhm.
and I had known each other for 20 years before, so we have a long history of all kinds of things, whether that be reaching out to other coworkers in times of need, or supporting one another in times in our own lives, or a lot of things that friends do.
Mhm.
And I kind of define, for me, I define friends as people that want you to flourish. I don't know how else to put it. Early in our association, Jodi, you had already been diagnosed with cancer, and you were looking forward to your daughter's wedding, which at that time was probably 4 or 5 months off or something. I think
Mhm.
that was in August of what, 2023, maybe, or something.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So I don't even have notes. I just remember that stuff. So anyway,
Good job.
um, so I can remember that, my prayers were, God allow Jodi to make it to her daughter's wedding, right? And I thought that that would be a real opportunity for you to, I use this word flourish a lot, to just be everything you are, and to see some of the rewards of your life and your daughter's life and that sort of thing. And I even
Mhm.
remember you telling me that you were rebuilding or having rebuilt your wedding dress for her, which I thought
That's true.
was really sweet.
Yeah.
And I have a great wedding dress story that has to do with my daughter, but that's for somebody else's podcast. So, so those things, that's kind of where my head and my heart are at. Same thing with
Mhm.
Brenda. Okay. We've known each other through a lot of life situations. And, the prayer in my heart has always been, Lord, let her get into a place where she can flourish. And I think that's what friends want for each other, whether they're writing a note, giving a pint of blood, encouraging in a phone call, listening to them cry, listening to them laugh, which is one of my favorite things.
Mhm.
I think that's kind of what friends do.
Mhm. Yes, I totally agree.
Mm,
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
good
and just
summary of
one
our
more,
our friendship.
mm, thank you.
and just one more add from my side is what was hard for me was to find out 2 years in what Jodi was going through. So
Sure.
somebody I cared about
so much. And I know, and I still think about people that we work together that may still not know
Mhm.
that Joe's going through all this. So that's why, it's important, I think, to share and, just, and to support, and that's what friends
Right.
do.
Yeah, yeah. And I love you both for that, for even bringing the idea up to me about a podcast and um, actually, following through. And here we are today on episode 4. So huge pat on our backs, I think, for our friendship and how it's flourishing.
Virtual
Mhm.
pat on the back.
Virtuals, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Since
We
we're
were
since
talking
we're
earlier.
hundreds of miles apart.
Yeah, we were talking earlier off air that a lot of the comments I've been getting about the podcast is people don't realize that Brenda, Ken, and I are all in different places when we're doing this podcast. We do it through Zoom, and Ken's in New Hampshire, Brenda's in North Carolina, or is it South Carolina or North Carolina?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm here in Vermont, so we're all in these different locations, but yet we seem to be able to have this natural conversations with each other as if we're just sitting at a table. And I think it's
Well,
great that it comes across that way.
we're all on the same screen at the same time, very much like the Brady Bunch intro. So it
That's
works
true.
out well. So,
It does work out well.
Nice to
It
see
does.
each other too.
so
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to talk about a couple of friends. Actually got 3 in particular I'd like to talk about. Who, I have a lot of friends, and I hope I don't hurt anyone's feelings that I didn't talk about you on this podcast. But believe me, you will come up at some point in my podcast because you are part of my life. But I had to narrow this down. So I do want to talk about this one attorney I was working with at my last employment. I'll just call him by his first name. His name was Doug. And I did say was because Doug passed away in February, I think, of 2022 or 2021, maybe it's 2022, of cancer. He had bladder cancer. And I remember meeting Doug. He wasn't a big man at all. He was very thin, not very tall, bald. And but for some reason, his presence was very intimidating. He would come out of the room and everybody would be just like, walk up against the wall and let him pass by. He just had this intimidating presence about him. And when I first started working there, I remember being terrified of him. And I worked in HR, so I had to talk to everybody. And so I was just trying to figure out ways how I could approach him and not get my head bitten off. Like I didn't know, but that's the feeling I got that would happen. And somebody told me one day that if you find something in common with him, then you're gold. And so I did that. I found out, I just talked around to other people, and I found out that he liked Survivor. He was a big Survivor fan, the reality show Survivor. And so am I. I watch it every Wednesday since day one to right now. I still watch it. And so I walked into his office one day, just out of the blue, and I sat down and I started talking about Survivor. And he looked at me, and I totally took him off guard. He certainly wasn't expecting that conversation from me, but he respected that, and from then on, we were fast friends. And every Thursday, so Survivor aired on Wednesday nights, and so every Thursday, without fail, when Survivor was playing, Doug would come into my office, sit in my chair, and we would talk about Survivor for half an hour or so, about the episode from the night before. So I had that connection. We even started betting each other $20 of, who we thought would win. Uh, so anyway, we did this for a few years, and then Doug announced that he had bladder cancer, and I was devastated, totally devastated. This man that intimidated me, I was now very close to. Um, he was in and out of the office getting treatments and surgeries for several months, and he came back to work after his very, very, very intense fight with cancer, and he was in remission. And I was so, so happy. I was so happy for him. And then I was diagnosed with cancer. And Doug took it as hard as I took the news that he had cancer. He called me right away. And Doug, I don't think I mentioned this earlier. He just wasn't an attorney at this firm I worked at. He was on the board of directors. So he was one of the big guys in the firm. And after he found out I had cancer, he called me. He called my house right away. And Stephen answered the phone, and Stephen was like, "It's Doug. Do you want to talk to him?" And I was like, "Yes." And we talked for about an hour. And he told me that I needed to fight with everything I had, just fight. And so that's what I did. I fought. And then about 4 months after I was diagnosed, Doug's cancer came back. And within 4 months of that, he passed away. So I never got to see him again.
Mm.
I did talk to him on the phone, which was very lovely. And we were texting. Oh, excuse me. I didn't think this would hit me so hard.
Mm.
And we were texting, and he did say his body was very at peace, but his mind was agitated, which makes sense to me, because why wouldn't it be? He was
Mhm.
he was dying, and he knew it, and that wasn't in his personality so much. So I was devastated, obviously, when he died, because we were supposed to fight together, and we were supposed to be winners together, and we weren't.
Mm.
So his story was excuse me, his story was important to me, because of his journey. And I'm a loyal, dedicated friend, like I said. And I was with Doug, and I was invested in his journey. And while I kept telling him, "I really don't understand what you're going through, but I'm here for you." And then I was diagnosed with cancer, and then I really did know what he was going through.
Sure.
So it was one of those, I don't know how to put it, but it was, I don't want to call it a full circle thing, but you know how, I don't know, that was a hard loss for me, especially because I was fighting
Mm.
myself. So
I think it's important when we're friends that when people do get into a difficult situation, that we make ourselves available to them. Different people take us in different dosages. And I'm a pretty reach out kind of guy. That's just who I am. It's the way I'm made. And some people, they eat that up. They're like, "Ken, if you want to call me every day, you can." And others are more like, "Boy, Ken, I appreciate it so much, but maybe once a month or something like that is appropriate." And I think different people have different needs, if I can put it that way, for communication and support. But I think as friends and as people that know folks, and I know an awful lot of folks now that they may have Alzheimer's, they may have Parkinson's, they may have cancer. It's pretty sobering, the things that happen to people in life. But
yeah.
I think really the best thing we can do is not be afraid to be around them. And by around them, I might mean a phone call, I might mean a note, I might mean actually physically being around them if situations allow. Because I think sometimes people withdraw from others because of their fear of the hurt that they fear is on the horizon, right?
Right. Yeah.
So but I don't think we need to fear that. I think we need to be supportive. I've said to both of you that, one of the ways I'm made is that when my friends are in trouble, I want to be right next to them. That's where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that's possible, sometimes it's not. But my encouragement to anybody out there listening is not to back away from people when things like cancer or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's and 1,000 other things come their way, but to stay around them. I think that's when you're most needed, if I can put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I agree. On a happier note, I have a friend who I met through my daughter, actually, in middle school. Her daughter and my daughter hooked up as friends, and they thought the mothers would be great friends, so they got us together, and we were, as it turned out. So Shauna, my friend Shauna, she's my fellow Scorpion. We're very like-minded. I don't even know where to start with Shauna. Besides Amy, who I'm going to talk about, obviously Amy, in a little bit. Shauna has been hands down the most attentive, caring, loyal, dedicated friend in my life. Of course she is, because she's a Scorpio, and that's how we're built. So adore and love aren't even good enough words for Shauna. When I was first diagnosed, she religiously, and I mean this religiously, sent me a card every week.
That's great.
Yeah, to this day, I still get a card probably once a month from Shauna. And it's not one of those cards that has, the message written on the inside. It's a blank card. There's something really cute on the front and then a blank card. And there's something about a blank card that I love. I always try to find blank cards because I like to put my own words on the card, not something pre-printed. And so I always appreciate a good blank card with writing on it, of course. But she would always write the most inspiring and feel good messages. She would update me on the world around because don't forget, I was in the thick of fighting for my life. It was COVID. I had very limited information on the outside world. And I was so drugged up, I really couldn't understand it anyway at the time. So I remember seeing Shauna after my first surgery. Stephen took me out just to get me out, and we went to Bristol where she has a store and visited her for the first time. And I remember seeing her, we hugged and cried like we were little schoolgirls. It was the cutest little thing. She was the first friend I'd seen in a long time at that time. And I remember when I left, I just felt so amazing. My body was so ravished and so tired and worn out from the surgery. But I remember having this other feeling inside that kind of overwhelmed and took over that feeling. So I felt so good when I left her store. Um, she has a way of making everyone feel loved and special. And I don't know how she does it, but she does. I am so thankful to have her in my tribe. When I can, even to this day, I go visit her Wednesday mornings and we have tea and we try to solve the world's problems. And we never succeed, but we certainly enjoy each other's company. It's a lot of fun just to have that one friend where, every Wednesday I'm going to go have tea with Shauna and we're going to talk about whatever whatever might come up. It's very nice. And she still will send me a card. She's a very sweet friend. Um, I'd like to talk about my friend Amy. Amy has been my childhood friend. I always tell her, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Um, she's been my steady, my wing girl. I don't know what all the words are these days, but my lifelong friend, my forever friend. And our fathers, her father and my father are twins. So there's something to be said about having a cousin who's your best friend as well. It's like I get two for one. It's amazing. And I always joke with Amy, I'm 4 years older than Amy. And so I always joke with her that she was my best friend before she even knew it. In fact, I just saw a Facebook post that I made 12 years ago that said just that. So naturally, we drifted toward each other because we were cousins and we became best friends, and we've done a lot together. Recently, we went to Martha's Vineyard. We've never been on a vacation together. And so Amy, on a particularly bad day, sent me a note, and I was going to read my note, but it's really long. But basically, it just said that, when life struggles get you down, I want to take you on a vacation. And so she did. We went to Martha's Vineyard um, over the Labor Day weekend, and we had a blast. It was the best time of my life, and I'll never forget it. Um, it's just one of those trips that you never ever think will happen, and then it happens, and then you just don't want it to ever end. Um, I can't ever visualize a day in my life without Amy. My life would be empty without her. She loves me unconditionally. I love her unconditionally. And I just have to say that, Amy, I love you more. And I said it on the podcast, so I'm winning.
That's cute.
That's an inside joke, and Amy will totally 100% understand that.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So I also had a feeling. I went to a Bruins game, and my friend Amy and her husband made a sign that said beating the hell out of cancer. And we got up on the Jumbotron like 3 times. And then we won fan of the game as well. And so there were thousands of people cheering for me. And you want to talk about a warm feeling? I don't think I've ever had a warm feeling like that.
That would be
And
cool.
it was just amazing. All these people, when we won fan of the game, just stood up and cheered for us, and it was just unbelievable. I'll never forget that ever. So none of those people were my friends. I didn't know.
Right.
Maybe I knew one or two. I don't know. There were so many people there, but they cheered for me anyway, and they rooted me on. And even after the game, people came up to me and like, "Oh, you're the fan of the game. You keep fighting, girl." And like, it was just so heartwarming and nice to know that humanity still exists. There is human kindness in the world.
Absolutely.
And I actually got to enjoy that.
I'm sure.
Thousands of friends for you that day.
I know. It was amazing. It really was.
Well, I think God pulls people into our lives to be our friends, to remind us, to develop us. I know, in my life, Jodi, you're a model of being upbeat, and Brenda, you're a model of being compassionate. And I need those models because I don't always have all that going on myself. And again, I think if we could take any small message and maybe highlight it or underscore it, and that is that when folks are in times of trouble, to not withdraw from them, to not be afraid to send a card, to not be afraid to reach out with a text, to not be afraid to make a visit if it's appropriate. Although even as I said, I'm the kind of guy that wants to be next to my friends when they're in trouble. I could hear in Jodi and Brenda's mind, don't come visit me in the hospital unless I've done my hair. But I think you know what I mean by that, right?
Yes.
So, So we just want to encourage folks to be that kind of people, to not be afraid to be around others, not be afraid to be supportive, um, to be those people that carry one another through the hardest days. One of the things I say about Brenda is that I've been with her on her best day and her worst day. And in my mind, her worst day was when her mom died, and her best day was when she married Eric. And both days I was around. So by invitation, not by accident. So that happens, right? That's what friendship is.
Yep.
And uh, it's such an important thing in life. So important to have friends, but to be friends also.
Yeah, I do know that every Sunday when I go to church, one of the things I thank God for is my friends.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps us up for the day, unfortunately. Brenda, any closing thoughts for us?
Well, just, I think it's just a beautiful episode, and Jodi is a beautiful, beautiful person with
Hmm,
and a beautiful friend to so many.
hmm.
And I'm just so glad to hear her tell us about her beautiful friends that we haven't met yet, but maybe will
Yeah,
someday.
you
Yeah.
will. And the next episode, we're gonna have a little tribute to Stephen. So I
Nice.
think that'll be very exciting. And I particularly am excited to share with everyone how he takes care of me and loves me, and he does all the things that he vowed that he would.
Mm.
And I'm excited to share and give him this tribute because he deserves it.
That's great.
Very good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good. Shall we close?
Yes.
Father in heaven, we're grateful for the way you build us. Um, you design us, you design every pore of our body, and you allow us to have family, you allow us to have friendships, you allow us to have very days of very great victory that are very really build us up. And you allow us to have days that are very difficult too. And somehow it all comes from your hand. Somehow it all has to do with a building up of us and a making of a story that you've built for our lives. Father, we pray that as others listen, as they contemplate how they can be better friends and how they can reach out to those that maybe have some need, that you would speak to their lives and they would do so. We're at a time of the year when people that have needs, they become more obvious or bigger because unfortunately Thanksgiving and Christmas are times in our society where a lot of things are exchanged and a lot of money is spent. And so sometimes people that have less feel smaller. Um, Let us be the kind of people that don't allow that to happen. Help us to be better friends. Help us to be the kind of people that are reflectors of the love that you have for us. We thank you for one another, and we thank you for the time we've had today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. From our kind hearts to your strong souls, thank you for listening. Your support helps us share hope, so please leave a rating, a like, a subscribe to the podcast, and share frequently. God bless you all.